Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Utlending. Today, we still have our famous man, Leo X Robertson from the Stavanger Filmmakers Club, who's helping us make this. And also, Leo, welcome back to the
Cheers,
show.
man. Good to be here.
Yeah. So, we were talking about, on the way here, we were talking about vulnerability in people, right? I think the topic is quite provoking, I feel, because a lot of people are told not to show vulnerability. You know, with the dawn of social media and stuff like that, you know, a lot of people are, there's a lot of, you know, self-help stuff that goes on these platforms that talk about not sharing your vulnerability. And also, at the same time, there's also share your vulnerability kind of situation. Do you have any experiences that you'd like to share about it?
Good question. I think the point you raised about social media is a good one, because on one hand, on one hand it's like, I saw a post that was like 25 sitting on 25 mil or something. On one hand, you have to there's a culture of constantly showing off. On the other hand, people are starting to understand that vulnerability is needed, it's healthy, it's healing, and so on. But it's very difficult when social media comes in, because if you try to weaponize vulnerability or sell it, it's not vulnerability, it's not authentic, because vulnerability and authenticity are interlinked somehow. And you can't say, guys, I just come to confess this because you want money and likes. Yeah. You can't offer vulnerability for any reason other than that it's a gift in itself. Yeah. I feel, and that social media really complicates that. And certainly it's taken me a long time to realize that vulnerability is like that. I don't know how it is for you, but you feel suffocated if you're not vulnerable for a very long time. Yeah, I agree. It's a part of my. I'm a musician. I'm an artist. So for me, vulnerability is. I have to constantly exercise vulnerability, because if I don't, it's not true. You know, whatever I feel in my field is not passionate enough. You know what I'm saying? It's not speaking the truth. So it has to be something that's it's sensitive. Yeah. So you have to always maneuver to understand where to show your vulnerability and where not to show it. It's show business, right? So you kind of have to be that and talk about issues. I would feel like what are musicians struggling with. So that is my point of view on my take on how to deal with it, and also what does an individual like myself, apart from being a musician and just a human being in this society, how can you practice vulnerability? Is it something that is accepted? Is it something it's a taboo, like, you know, no one talks about it? Yeah. Like, don't show your weakness, only show your strengths. Fake it till you make it. Yeah, fake it till you make it. You see, all this kind of stuff is, I feel it was okay to do at that time. Now, in this time and age, when you're constantly advocating mental health and people are, you know, lawyering up for that, I would think that it's something that we need to address. And there's nothing wrong with. Women are really good at championing this. You know, they're good at really explaining themselves and expressing how they've always been really gifted at rallying things like that. But when it comes to men, we've been told, as you know, suck it up, be a man, walk it off, kind of thing. But I think that's also a cultural thing. Yep, it's very culturally driven. What are your experiences living in Stavanger? What do you feel is where can you be vulnerable? Where are you not allowed to be vulnerable in Europe in general? Good question. I have come to decide that I don't think there's anywhere you can't be vulnerable, and I think that everywhere you are vulnerable, when appropriate, is a huge bonus to everyone around in every capacity, like in terms of being good at your job, in terms of like connecting with other people, or being good at your hobbies or whatever. Like, the more vulnerable you are, the better. Unfortunately for me, I need other people to do stuff. I wish I didn't. I wish I could do everything alone. But because I need other people, like I need to bond with them, and you bond with them through vulnerability. So it's appropriate and it's beneficial in every circumstance. But I certainly didn't feel that when I first arrived. No. I don't think I ever felt lonelier than when I first arrived in Stavanger, which was not necessarily Stavanger's fault. It was we talked about last time. I'd come straight out of uni. I'd come here. I was into the working world. I was terrified. I remember going into my first day of work and genuinely thinking, hope you enjoyed life, Leo, because it's all over now. Yeah. That's how I felt entering the working world. And everyone was like stony-faced and professional and serious about numbers and data sheets and everything, and I thought, right, if I'm going to fit in, I have to pretend to be like that, because I can't let them know that I'm really struggling, don't know what the hell's going on, don't feel like I fit in with the culture or anything. And it's only now I think I'm really trusted, and I am like I have some sort of leadership roles and so on, but only because I've been like, who the hell knows what's going on here? Like, yeah. Did you talk to the guy, or what is the number here? And it's that's still frowned upon.
Yeah, but this is your work-related thing, right? It's a work-based situation.
No, this is like yeah. Okay. Well, this is kind of how I act in every situation. But an example of work, I think, was definitely where I felt the least able to be vulnerable when I started, and it's somewhere that I've come to learn that, you know, the more vulnerable I am, the better the work is.
Yeah.
In the end. That was a big ramble.
You
can reflect.
I think you're making a very strong point there, because is it accepted to talk as a man?
No.
To speak your mind and to talk about what bothers you and your emotions and what makes you sad and what makes you angry. I mean, I know there's a lot of people who go on social media and use social media as a platform and as a therapy exercise for them to, you know, release their negativity towards a particular topic. But do you think that social media has made it easier for people to express vulnerability, or? Oof. Yeah, it's both, right? Yeah, it's a mix. Like, you can't really say what you have on your mind, because I know that in Norway they actually look at your social media when you if you join a company. I heard that they actually check your social media and see if you are, you know, blatantly online screaming your mind.
Huh.
But is that beneficial for men? I feel like we live in a time and age where, you know, men are told, like we discussed, suck it up.
Yeah.
You can't handle it, don't do it. And there's this toxic masculinity that's been thrown into this mix.
Which hurts men as much as it hurts women, yeah.
Yes.
Nobody likes toxic masculinity.
Nobody wants to...
it's toxic.
It's kind of crazy. And just to bank on a famous personality that has been taken off social media, I don't want to give him any credit. I think everybody knows who it is. The most recent one, that is. The most recent guy. I went into depth and I watched the stuff he says. Many things he says makes a lot of sense, but I don't think the approach is right. You get what I'm saying? Like, I feel like telling women to fuck off is not the way to move forward.
I would definitely have to agree there.
That's fucking ridiculous. That's not the way to do it.
But
and also putting them in a. I get that you want to. I get that he wants to fight against feminism or the propaganda based on feminism.
Yep.
But the word meaning of feminism is. There's no gender to that. It's any person who feels equality of rights.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can be a feminist.
Is a feminist.
Just a word,
as I understand it, I would agree.
That's what feminism is, right?
Uh-huh.
And I strongly stand by Dave Chappelle when he says stuff, when he talks about it. But I don't understand how do you cross that barrier by guns blazing, you attack the women and you tell them, because you're doing exactly what they do.
But that sounds to me like doubling down on toxic masculinity. It's saying, like, yes, men are hunters, gatherers, protectors, so be that to like an almost cartoonish degree.
Yes, I agree to that, and I also think that some men are built like that, like, you know.
Oh yes,
by
certain
nature,
people are like that.
I'm a protective person. Like I have a lot of friends who are women.
Yeah.
Most of the people I have around me in my life, my best friend is a woman. So I don't find it. I find it repulsive when I see this championing that, you know, all women are shit, like all women are the same, and they all do this exact same thing. And I feel I've been influenced by it, you know, to a certain degree, where I have tried to exercise it and see how the response is.
Okay.
And then I realized slowly, and through multiple different failures or attempts that were futile, I realized that your reaction is what really matters to these things. And I think this will help a lot of men.
Okay.
So I strongly believe that every man has the right to talk about the way he feels, and should talk about the way he feels, whether it is to a friend, to someone who's a confidant, like, someone who you trust, or go to a therapist. Discuss these things, because I feel that it helps a lot of people to get back onto track, because I feel like the more you hold it in, the more toxic,
the deeper you go. Oh, agreed.
And the toxic masculinity starts to seep through, because then you start to become, what, I am a man, I have to fucking deal with this. Yes, of course, there's a lot is easier for women compared to men. But it's not really like that, I feel. That's what we've been told.
You're talking about, we covered a lot of points. I think in one respect you're being very vulnerable by admitting that you've tested out kind of failed hypotheses about what men are, which, as we all do, because none of us know the answer, none of us know who we are. It's like a constantly evolving thing, and in order to know who you are, you have to test things out. I think, but testing things out is not staying at home and listening to how right you are,
No.
And
it's also be able to fail, and the willingness to, the acceptance that failure is a part of becoming who you are, right?
They also say that vulnerability has boundaries, right? And that's where social media starts to become a problem, because absolutely, admit how you're feeling to a friend and a family member and loved ones and so on. But if you admit it to the world doesn't care about you in the same way that those people do.
No, nobody cares if if you're sad, because sadness exists everywhere. And there's a lot of people who are much more on a really higher degree of sadness than you are. But it's then like we talked about it the other day, it's just like a person who has a handicap. Can never talk about being a handicap, because he has meals,
he has one leg
food,
when somebody else has no legs.
3 meals a day. He's got a good life. He's been taken care of by everything. So what are you complaining about? But see, these are things that are very individualistic, right? I think that every social media has a way of generalizing everything, stereotyping, everything. Oh, men are supposed to be like this. I don't think men are supposed to be anything. I think men are supposed to express themselves the way they feel like expressing themselves. Right? And of course, by that statement does not mean that you should do something stupid and ridiculous to prove something.
No.
There has to be, you can't hurt anyone. Like, it's like the 7 sins kind of thing. You can't hurt anybody. Don't, everything in moderation. I don't know if the 7 sins thing, 7 sins reference was the right reference here, but I feel like moderation for everything has to be accepted. And I also think that women in our time and age should understand that just because there's a lot of rallying about, let's just talk about hashtag Me Too.
Okay.
You see, I know many men who've lost everything by false accusations.
Okay.
Like, this hashtag Me Too movement destroyed a bunch of my famous friends. Like, they were climbing the ladder in their respective fields. And there were many cases charted against them, because it became a big thing, like especially in India. It was actually a very big movement, the hashtag Me Too.
Okay.
And many people I know went through so much hell just because of that. Because a woman decided that she could cash in or capitalize it as being a victim for something that was consensual.
Okay.
But she drove the narrative in her favor.
Right.
So everybody started boycotting the guy. They boycotted him. They were like, no. Cancel culture just struck right through, 100% ka-ching. Now you're here, and now you're canceled because you're an absolute piece of human garbage. So these people lost a lot of their lives still, and they had to wait for like 2 years to prove their innocence. And even after proving their innocence, they're not allowed to. They can't go back to how it was.
Okay, I see your point. That like, if vulnerability and failure is part of being a human, and sharing that is part of connecting, how do you do that in a culture that so hideously punishes people?
So fast at cutting everybody out. I mean, come on, aren't we all people who make mistakes? It's about the degree of
terrible mistakes as well.
Make terrible decisions in our lives. But everybody deserves a second chance. Everybody deserves to be heard and understood. But it's just this constant movement. Like, you know, even it's so funny. There was this on my TikTok. There was this girl who posted a video who said, honestly, there's nothing that you can appreciate a man for, right? And I'm not sure if the girl has a thyroid issue or she's just, you know, truly into not taking care of herself, and she looks unhealthy, if you know what I mean. I don't want to be really stating that.
Sure.
But how can you sit there and say something like that and not expect a man to respond?
That's what it's for. It's provoking, though, yeah.
I responded saying, I stitched the video and I said, you know, you should stop feeding yourself junk physically and mentally, because that's toxic behavior. To go on a social platform and say that there's nothing that you can appreciate a man for. How are you on this planet?
But where does that discussion go? You know, it's not. I think that social media is not the forum for. You need something long form like this. You need a bit more of a nuanced discussion. I think that the TikTok, Twitter necessity for something to make sense in a sentence or 5 seconds badly compresses, truncates complicated discussions. That there's nothing of value you can say in 5 seconds that's going to advance a conversation. There's everything you can say that's going to provoke people and get attention and likes and everything. But that's why, you know, social media is a tough place for.
But don't you think that because it's so strong, that okay, now let's just.
But what does it do?
Just take that example, right?
What does it do?
Maybe a man who heard that, and who's already in a very, very vulnerable state in his life. He decides to go there. Can we put ourselves into his shoes? Just say, or a group of people who saw that and who always were like, yeah, that's true, man. We're just not.
Oh, well, I mean, that happens. Yeah, people are like.
Some people just go back into their shell and they never talk about it again.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I see your point. This is why you're becoming protective and so on.
I become very protective of these things because I'm like, I don't think you should be able to say that. And that video has been stitched so many times over. So many people stitch and so many women jump on that.
Well, that's what it was for.
And then there was this. One of the first comments I got was this girl, who she has nothing on her page. Everything is really, you know, secretive. It's private. You can't see anything. It's not her profile picture. She says, "You're basically proving her point." How am I proving my point when I stand up for the guys who can't talk for themselves? I'm not proving anything. I'm standing up for you to understand that posting shit like this. Maybe this is a joke, but you don't understand that on such a large platform, there might be many men who actually start thinking this and also influencing other women, coaxing them into this thing that, yeah, you know what, she's right.
Yeah. You did take an easy shot at her appearance.
Yeah, I did. I did because, you know, there was no other way I felt. At that point, I was just like, wow, there's a lot of junk that she's ingesting. Yeah. And there's also a lot of junk she's ingesting through her, you know, being alive and listening to all this nonsense. Like, how can you educate yourself like that? And as a progressive society, don't you think that we should do much better at helping people of any gender to be able to talk about their feelings and have compassion?
Yeah, it's just tough because there's an endless flood of this stuff that I think the only way to have interesting conversations is to trust that people moderate their own use of social media, you know? People activate their own critical thinking.
You can ban, you are okay to ban. Yeah, I get that, but cancel culture seems to be the biggest topic of discussion. Like, I had a problem with, you know, there's a group, I don't want to highlight any names, but there's a group here that don't like Muslims.
Right, yeah.
Now you see, I'm okay to stand there and listen to what they have to say. Okay. I want to see why they hate it so much and gauge their experience. But I don't understand why you need to do aggressive acts such as burning the Quran.
Sure. Here's my take on it, right? Is every generation, a group of people come up and they start to talk about race and superiority, and they have been constantly disproven over and 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 over again, right? What if every week a guy came up and was like, I want to talk about how the sky is pink. The sky is pink. I want to, like, and I don't want to hear this guy out. It obviously isn't.
Yeah.
Can I go talk about something? I think my time is better spent elsewhere, right?
Yeah.
Like, Muslims are fine. Can we talk about something else, you know? Because attention is the economy of this age, right?
Exactly.
And you have to, you're right about protecting men and protecting their attention and where it goes. And we have to protect our own attention, you know.
Too.
I get it, I get it.
But
But I have to protect my own attention. And so when somebody like this recent guy you're talking about gets cancelled, I'm like, do I honestly give a fuck? Like, does he give a fuck about my freedom of speech? No. So why should I champion his? Why don't I watch an episode of Better Call Saul? Really like Better Call Saul. Why don't I just watch that?
Yeah.
It's great. I'm going to be entertained and I'll be ready I'll have energy to do stuff that my time is well spent on as well. So I appreciate what you're saying, that maybe these things should be available for the kind of people who are interested in hearing them out. But I'm not one of them.
No.
Because if there's no evidence for something, then if we're genuinely talking about advancing things, can we look at facts and progress and not...
Where do we find facts, right? That's the thing, because there's an arsenal of places you can find facts, and everyone derives facts the way they perceive that fact or what they consider a fact. So a bunch of people believe one notion that this is the way it is and this is how they have to progress in life, and this is the way their mental state is going to hold up. And then there's another bunch of people who are diggers and who we dwell in it and we go dig rabbit holes, try to find the exact truth as to what it is, because I feel like everything is camouflaged in a way, and the real thing is never in focus, but it's always an amalgamation of things. Like one story has been transcribed this way, and then these group of people transcribe this way, and then they pay Google ads to be on top. Optimization. You see, everyone's on Google, right? We're all
narrative
robots.
Controlling.
Nice dance, bro. This guy's vibing and
okay,
it's
great.
It's good. These guys are the future.
Providing our background entertainment, yeah.
Don't you think that where is it? I feel like it's an endless loop. Like we can never end the conversation anywhere unless there's a body of evidence saying that these are the facts. But where do we find these facts? And then I know that I'm going to get a lot of heat for that, because they'll be like, yeah, I know, but you just need to figure it out. I feel that as a man, if I may speak so, if I may say so, as a person who's male, and I feel like I am of that I'm of that breed where I protect people, and I am very inclusive of everybody and anybody who has something to say, as long as they're not provoking me.
Okay.
Right? I'm not saying that you should not say anything to provoke me, because I don't own you. I don't have that. You have freedom of speech, but directly taking shots at me, directly taking shots at a group of people that I associate myself with, automatically means that I stand up.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And this is coming from a person who's been vulnerable all his growing years. I was vulnerable. I had a lot of anger. I had a lot of, never being understood, constantly being bullied, and then eventually ending being that guy who started standing up to the bullies.
Okay. Can I tell you a story that I think is relevant to this?
Yeah.
Right. I was 17, and I was dating an older guy he was holding my hand in the street, and somebody yelled something at us, right? I was very drunk, otherwise I wouldn't have done it. I don't even remember, I didn't even hear them happening. Anyway, he turned around and started yelling at them. And I was like, what are you doing, man? Can we just go? And he was like, but what, he said, like, but what if a younger couple who were not as confident as us was walking by and they got yelled at by them? And I was like, all right, so you're standing up for a hypothetical pair of people who are not there, and you're putting us, real people who are here, at risk for no need. They might be drunk also. You're not going to change their mind. I think that in this case, not you, I think in this case, this guy was hiding behind the notion of being a protector in order to allow himself to give into his anger. Because if he was a protector, I think he wouldn't have bothered engaging with them.
No, that would be a wrong move. You should not.
Yeah?
Knowing your territory is also very important.
So it's another complicated thing, yeah.
Yeah, because you could get into serious trouble.
Yeah.
Like, what if those guys really wanted to fucking knock the lights out of you guys?
They could do it so easily, to me.
Yeah.
Even now, look at me.
Yeah.
Somebody could come around and just...
Nah. I know that you got some jiu-jitsu or something lying in there.
Yeah, sure.
I've got... Some grapple mode and...
I can nunchuck that tripod at somebody if they come for my wallet. I'll give it a go, but I'm pretty frail. you know, and I think that was not. So I get the point, but I think that I wonder if, I'm not saying this is happening with you, I wonder if this protective guardedness is some sort of, does it guard your vulnerability?
That's the culture, that's where the culture steps in.
Okay.
See, as I mentioned before, right, it's vulnerability in this time and age is different in the West compared to other parts of the world. It's a different kind of vulnerability. Here, like let's just say Scandinavians, they're quite reserved as people. So you won't get a lot out of them at the first meeting, right? Or a couple of meetings in, till they trust you.
Then a few meetings after that.
And a few meetings after that, and a bunch of beers are involved or some
Yeah.
They start to explain themselves. I was at a party on Saturday. This is a story that I want to share.
Okay.
I was at a party on Saturday with my best friend, and it was her friends. Amazing party. And I met this one guy. Very interesting. He looked really angry. Like he had a very calm demeanor. But maybe it's my capability, my ability to see right past that facade he has. That I saw that he held a lot of anger within him. And then as we started talking through the party, it was probably, about 5 beers down. He started explaining a lot of things, and he started talking about racism, and he started talking about acceptance, and he said that he was not a racist, and he liked people from everywhere, and blah blah. And then,
but
he was a gentleman. He maintained a cool Norwegian guy,
right?
Local. But then he started talking about not being able to speak his mind. And then I was just like, what do you mean by that? And he says that it bothers him to see people standing up against, people of color or immigrants or expats here. And especially people from Africa, South Asia, that.
So he wants to protect that, he wants to stand up for them.
He feels very angered by what he sees on the news and how people communicate, and they make fun of immigrants or stuff like that, and he feels very angered by it.
Right.
And so I could see, and then he also says that as a man, he does not feel comfortable to share his emotions. And this was very obvious, because he seemed like a kind of guy who picks one person he likes at a party, and he tries to stick to them as much as possible.
Right.
And if he starts talking about, I felt like, he had the freedom to speak to me, so he just poured it out, man. He was just speaking his mind, and I just completely allowed that.
Okay.
But then, like you said, my attention was not there, because I was not going to be the therapist at this particular point.
Yes.
Because I felt like we were under the influence of alcohol, and this is not a place to discuss this, and I want him to speak to me when he's not inebriated, when he's not under the influence.
See, this goes back to vulnerability and boundaries, right? When it's oversharing or not, and when you're talking about like these messages online and what's real and what's not, authenticity is just something you feel. Intuition it's like a feeling in your gut. You're like, yeah, this is true, this is real. And oversharing also is a thing where you go, like, this is making me feel uncomfortable. It happens, and it's very funny you say, because it's something I really like that in a previous video we compared homophobia and racism, which is something you're very risky to do. But it's funny that like sometimes people will meet me and they'll be like, by the way, I think homophobia is terrible. And you're like,
yeah, but
yeah, okay, good. But you don't need to
say that.
Because you make it sound as if it's more prevalent than it is. You're like, are you saying that I have to be wary of everyone until they say that? Because it's not. That's not the case.
No.
But like it's also kind.
Yeah.
So you're like,
it's a nice way.
Cheers.
I think they're trying to. If you look at it, give them the.
They're trying to make you feel comfortable around them.
They're trying to make you feel that, hey, listen, man, I'm not like those people. I don't have a problem with it.
That's really nice.
Be who you are.
It's just so awkward. It's just so awkward.
Yeah, but some people, when they hear that, it's like, why'd you say that? That means you are that.
I don't.
That's just ridiculous.
No,
give
because
the person a chance to say.
In the interest of vulnerability, you have to let people say stuff that's stupid.
Let the person say that.
Yeah.
And then, if the actions don't match the words, well, then you have the option to walk away from there.
Yeah.
And you don't have to confront them and start a beef. Maybe a person like me would be like, listen, man, you said that you were okay with this stuff, but then the slightest contact I had with my boyfriend flipped you off, and you completely turned the switch, and he was like, oh man, come on, don't do that here. Get a room. And I was like, it's none of your fucking business, man.
Yeah.
Like, so it would be like that. right? But the culture part, like, going back to that, I think it's a very cultural thing, because I think Scandinavia, you see, suicides, if I'm not mistaken, are really high in Europe, especially amongst younger men.
Right.
And I feel this is because there is no chance to talk, and there's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
At the same time, if you look at South Asia, like where I grew up in Dubai. Now I can tell you that I had no time to be depressed.
Okay.
In Europe, everything is set, standards are set, blah, blah, blah. But when you're over there and you have to hustle, every day you don't have time to feel sad and depressed. So what happens is people hold that a lot. People hold their problems a lot inside.
Okay.
And
where, in the East, or?
Yeah, like let's say, like I grew up in the Middle East, so
Yeah.
over there it's like it's not that easy to talk about your feelings. You could talk to your family about it, but your family also shoots you down. Because they're on the same platform as you are. There's no time to sit down and talk about, your issues and what you find tough. Like you don't have the freedom, and it's also a cultural difference, because there, if you, like, say from my mom's part of the world, if you say that, if a person says, I want to go to a psychologist, they call you cuckoo.
Yeah, there's something wrong with you. Yeah.
What's wrong with you? No, you can talk to us. I was like, yeah, but that's the thing. When I want to talk to you, you don't want to you don't want to hear me out.
Well, to that I would say, firstly, I've been on antidepressants for a few years now, and I probably should keep going to see my therapist, but I haven't. But I would say that, like, you don't even need an issue to go to a therapist. You don't even need a topic for them. They can be like a life coach, like what you're doing, what you're trying to get on with. You can go to them and not have an issue to work with. In fact, it's probably best if you don't wait until you're overloaded with stuff and then go, oh God, now I've reached the point I can deal with this by myself. Now I'll go see a therapist. There's no need to wait for it to reach that length,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I feel like it's very different, right? Because over here, it's a very different lifestyle. So I see the cultural integration. It's different. The problems are different here, and the problems there are much. The gap is very huge. And I think that when cultures integrate, some people are very protective of, like, patriotic, so they protect their culture.
Right.
And this is how we do it.
Yeah.
And then you have an influx of people from outside with different points of views.
Yeah.
And then you try to immerse that into an already existing petri dish, which is not very friendly. Like, I'm not saying that they're not friendly, but there are many people who they put this barrier, like, no, we don't want that.
Well, there's a lot of, Norway, for example, is really proud and very specific culture, especially here in Stavanger.
And I respect their culture.
For
right?
sure.
I respect the way they want things to do.
Yeah.
But I also worry for the youngsters, for the younger guys and girls, like, who are we setting the right example for them to live a life that we could actually make better for them. But there's a huge. This is a diverse topic, so I'm just going to stick to one.
Yeah, keep on vulnerability, for example. Like,
are these kids allowed to be? Are these teenagers and children allowed to be vulnerable and say the things they want to say, instead of social media companies using them and creating a propaganda, and then starting movement? No, it's not that. Just the system itself can allow children to actually go, and I think that's already in place. But if you see the kind of trouble people on social media, it's insane. Like, how it's so quick to judge, box, put a label on it, and this is it. And I feel like men, I'm always going to stand with the fact that I've seen people that are very close to me and I love, not have the ability to speak their mind and say what they want so that it could take a load off. Man, these things can really weigh a person down. They don't really realize how much they hold inside.
Yeah.
It's like cancer, it just keeps growing and it grows and then finally reaches a point of breaking.
Yeah.
So why? Instead of that, is there a possibility that we could, together as a collective, it's an individualistic responsibility, yes, of course, but we also have, I'm all for the, we're all one, let's work together.
Let's all a big group hug.
Yeah, big group hug, kind of, yeah. That's how I operate.
Yeah.
And I don't need to be, a guy who's been successful in another business before now finding this as a medium to express myself. No, I feel like this is a collective thing. I think people really need to be okay to share things with others.
Yeah, I think like adding to everything you're just talking about, like I let people share a bit too much with me because I know it's such a problem. But that's tough because like it's because I feel like when somebody's they sound very desperate in their voice and they're telling you too much too fast, I'm like, I feel like you don't have somebody. And although it can be intense to hear, I try and do it as much as possible, especially here, because I feel like, people are more bottled up than they should be. And the way I'm identified as somebody that people can talk to in that way, I think is because I try a lot in public. Like you can watch this online of us just like freewheeling a chat, which lots of people would be afraid to do. I was certainly afraid to do it for years before I managed to watch myself on camera, and that kind of thing makes people proud. So I would say like the number one thing we can do to help one another is to be vulnerable in public, is to lead by example.
Yeah.
To lead by example, because that's the only thing I've seen consistently over time that really does change people, is if they see something that you're doing that they want to do and they want to learn from you how to do it, they will identify that and watch you and model it. And so you need to be as honest and as brave and as open and as able to fail in public as you possibly can, to allow other people to do the same thing, and that's how they open up and they don't get all suffocated and bottled up in that horrible way. I mean, even the way, but it's a fight, and it's a conflict, and it's a constant. It wears you out doing that, right?
Yeah.
And it's not common, unfortunately, I don't think, because
they
like
need
I
a
said,
release, and then they stick to they find things that suit their, one of those things. Let's say you put 100 different things inside a jar, you shove it down inside you, and one of those things that you're really like angry about, you find on social media gives you it's like opening Pandora's box, right?
Yeah.
Pick one, and then I'm just cast it onto the world. I'm just gonna fucking fight for it. I'm gonna say what I feel like, and I think it starts there.
Yeah,
Everything starts with
that
not
visceral
being able to talk.
feeling very
Yeah.
good and feeling
And you
very
feel good. I'm so
right and
tired of
righteous.
feeling like this all the time.
Yeah.
Fuck, what is this? And then suddenly you open your social media like, feminism. Fuck guys. Like,
Yeah.
I feel
And
like
it's
if women talk to men, men talk to women, tell them how you feel about things. It helps. And start at a young age so that the men learn and the women learn. They help each other.
It's tough as well, because if you go further down that path, it gets tougher and tougher to feel compassion towards people who've gone too far into it, and they start to believe these messages and being really horrible, with like baselessly horrible with no logic behind it. But yeah, no, like I say, being vulnerable can wear you out, and sometimes, like I say, I've started doing it at work, and I'll say I don't know the answer to that. And I'll say that, and then an older guy will I hear nervous laughter so often, and it gets tough to hear nervous laughter all the time. But what that nervous laughter means is like, if I was him, I would not act that way. And sometimes I hear that as well. They'll be like, if that was me, I would not say that. And you're like, what the fuck does that mean?
Yeah,
you're not me.
Is there another way? Like,
but also, like,
resumes?
That's not a measure of anything. Who the fuck are you?
Yeah. Like, how do we progress?
Yeah.
Oh, don't say that out loud. What? What did I say? Like,
I admitted to not knowing something so that we can find out the answer. What did you want me to do?
Yeah.
Pretend I knew it already?
Exactly.
That's dangerous.
It's really funny because it's just adding on to that story.
Yeah.
I have situations where everyone's ready to sit around and bitch about one person.
No time for it.
When it comes to actually saying what you want to say to that person, it never happens. And they always use comedy. They think that they're all comedians, and then they use one-liners in the middle of a heated statement, which throws the other person who they were bitching about completely off tangent, and he just fucking loses it, and he's just like, you know what? Fuck you. And then he walks away, and I was like, why did you have to raise it to that level? If you have something to say to that guy, call the guy and tell him, dude, listen, man, this is the way it is. I think we need to discuss this. And I think that this is a problem that I face with you. Is there a chance that we could talk about it like adults? Now, that doesn't happen. Everyone sits around, bitches about him, and then it's like you started the Filmmakers Club. Imagine this situation where me and Tom And Ozan and everyone, we sit around, we bitch about you because we don't like the way you're doing something, right? And then we're so good at bitching about it, but when you see us, you kind of understand that there's something up.
Yeah.
I think humans feel that. I think everybody kind of feels that they're talking something about me.
Yeah.
And now then you hold it back, and then you don't want to address it because you don't know. So and then eventually, when it's supposed to be addressed, the way it's addressed is not. It's a futile attempt.
It's blown up too much.
Blown up too much out of proportion.
Yeah.
Or one person is always in charge of conveying that message.
Yeah.
In my case, it's always me.
Yeah.
So I'm always the guy who's like, yeah, you should talk to him about it. And I was like, why should I talk to him? Why can't you talk to him? You're an individual. You have a problem with him. If just because it's a collective thing, what is this, a union where one person represents a union? No.
So you're making a really interesting point, which is that like toxic group behavior is because of a lack of vulnerability.
Yes.
And this is one of the other things I wanted to talk to you about complaining, which we can take in another topic or something. But I have no time for it. You know, if it's just like, oh, I think the light over like if it's filmmaking club, it would be like, oh, I think the light over there is bad. All right, do you want to get up and turn it off? No, I just wanted you to know that. Okay, what?
I just wanted to say that.
What?
I think the lighting there is quite it's not really good. I was like, is it related to a shoot, or do you not just like the light? Oh, I don't like the light. Cool, then do something about it. I don't want to.
But the thing I learned in the filmmaking club, and the thing that's very tough for me to do, but it's God, it's a real balance, because I've noticed how many people are really, really, really afraid. And another thing we should talk about with men is hierarchies, and buying into hierarchies, because at work it's, you know, it's like you got to listen to this guy because he's the boss. And when it comes to our club, my personal belief is that nobody is better than anyone, right? So, and I'm not saying that to signal to people that I know that. You don't need to know that about me. I don't care. You'll see it in the way that I act, and you'll see it in the way that I built the club, and the way that we will make films with phones, and we'll make things with whoever shows up, because everyone. Everyone can be creative, and everyone has a right to do it as long as they practice enough. But if I do that enough and it starts to get recognition, as it has, then people say, all right, Leo, you've come this far alone. Now you got to recognize that you're the bottom of my ladder and ask me for money. And you're like, no, you don't understand that the reason I came this far is because I refused to recognize that there was a hierarchy, and I will continue to refuse that there is one, because we're all equal, we're all doing our own thing.
Man, this is a club. If you bring money to the club, that's one thing.
But that's cool.
If you have to demand,
if you want me to call you up so that you get to be rude to me and dangle money in front of me, that sounds really unpleasant and like something I don't have to do.
That's ridiculous. Why?
So I'm not going to do that.
No.
You know, and
that's just silly.
And it's I think people really feel comforted by knowing that there is a hierarchy that everyone agrees in, that they can fit themselves in, and they'll go, you know, like I'm not as good as this guy, but at least I'm better than these four guys. A lot of people draw their self-worth out of that, and I think that having a strong sense of self-worth, perhaps, you know, it's tough, but like irrespective of what's going around you, that and vulnerability and avoiding these social media arguments is important. Like, who are you superior to or not, or where do you draw your sense of being valuable from? Is it from being better than others, or is it, where does it come from? Where does yours come from? Your sense of knowing that you're enough, that you're doing good in life, that you're a valuable person.
I think it's just waking up every day and just being grateful that I'm here, and that's where it comes from.
Yeah.
And the fact that I actually have a group of people that I can confide my thoughts and the way I feel about things. I think if you secure the foundation there, and you're able to just be grateful and be happy with the fact that I know there's more people that are experienced than I am in the group, like you. So I would have respect for you if you said something.
Yeah, I mean, but do you want to hear me sing? I'd be shit at it compared to you, for example. You know, we've all got individual gifts.
Yes.
Yeah,
so
to share
I think it
with
should
the
be
world.
A collective effort, and everybody find their lane and do what they can, without having.
All you can do is your best.
Yeah, just do your best. And if somebody, see, I have respect because you started this club. This club is yours. Now, just because I'm a part of it, and I show up at meetings, and that does not mean that I expect you to give. It's like The Office, you know, like Dwight. Just because he's around, he wants to be promoted to assistant to the manager.
Right. Yeah.
No, but that's not the point. Like, there's no such thing here. You own the club. Everybody runs the club based on. I wouldn't say it's a hierarchy. I think it's that you started it, so it's your dream, and whoever is a part of it, unless they're not in sync with your dream.
Yeah.
And what you want to achieve.
Yeah.
Well, then there's always going to be a.
Do you know? I think you're right. I would say that not that I'm the boss or anything, but I have found
Leo,
that. Yeah.
This is yours.
Yes, but I found that like there's a set of values that people need to live by if they're going to be part of the club, and that is that everyone has a right to do this. Nobody's better than anyone else, and you got to show up and do your best, because you either or you don't even have to do your best. You do something.
Yeah, just
because
be there and help
either
out,
like
whatever.
Doing nothing is worse than something.
What you're receiving.
What I'm passionate about and what I don't like is that people are very afraid, and because of that fear, they're willing to blame things on external factors instead of themselves. They're not willing to give it an effort. They're not willing to do things and show them to others because they're scared of how that's going to be received.
Exactly.
And I feel that all of that fear is a huge waste of time and very sad, because people are not doing what they could do otherwise if only they could be brave and stand up to that fear.
Yeah.
That's what frustrates me.
Failure to try.
Yeah.
Remember, like I said?
Yeah.
The failure to try. The eagerness to try, the boldness and the determination to try something and know that you can fail.
Yeah.
And fail, but don't stop there. And it's easy to point a finger at everything.
Yeah.
But you point a finger at something, there's 4 fingers pointing right back at you. So I think we should just stop, like people in general should stop pointing fingers at things.
And here's the thing, we showed up here, we've got 2 cameras, like we decided on a topic as we walked over here.
We were walking over here, we went to get coffee, and then we decided that maybe we should talk about
it's
something.
it's not perfect.
No, I'm not saying, oh my God, tomorrow this is going to be picked up by CBS and put up as
I can fine tune it a little bit with edits and stuff, but even at the end it'll be imperfect, because I'll watch it back and I'll go, oh, I wish I brought up this point or that point. But the point is that it exists, it goes out there, and
it's right here,
we build
right
something.
Now.
Yeah.
It's right here, right now. These are the things that are coming out as discussions.
Yeah.
And this is what we have to speak on. This is just a way of people expressing themselves. And I can tell you, Leo, just to give you a little bit about the Stavanger Filmmakers Club. The first time I met you, I had my reservations. Like the first time I met you, I thought you were the kind of guy, like, was a little cocky and you didn't want to talk to me. And I was like, oh, you were too good for me. But I was completely wrong. But that's my assumption. I didn't get to know you.
When was that?
When you came to Formenton and you did the screening of the video.
Oh, I was so stressed.
Yeah.
I was so stressed.
See, that was I'm showing you by example.
Okay, yeah.
That's my first impression. I was like, oh, come on, man. Like, what the hell? Like, this guy doesn't even want to look at me. He doesn't want to talk to me. Like, oh, okay, fine, big guy. Movie maker. Yeah. So you see how idiotic that sounds when I say it out loud? And then I finally get in touch with you because I really wanted to do movies. You're my first guy to call me like last minute, just over the phone on a fucking Saturday, and you told me, hey man, we have a role for you in a movie. You want to come? I paid subscription fees for booking agents. None of those fuckers gave me a chance. But you did. You called me the next day and you told me, yo, come through, man. I got a role for you. And I was like, what? And then I sat down and asked myself, think about it, JereMaya. What you did could be what everybody else does. But the thing is that you took a minute to realize that, okay, I may have shot a little off my game.
I'll say you're not alone, and I'll say that it's something that with me, I don't talk this much normally.
No.
I'm very quiet, I'm very reserved, I can't wait. I was on a TV show. Just kidding. But like,
TV show, man, I'm famous.
I was never on a TV show. I was never on a TV show, and I resent JereMaya for that. But I can't wait to get home. I feel very silly after I've like gone, I'll go over things in my head like, oh God, I can't believe I said that. So I'm very reserved, I'm very quiet, and I think people do pick up on that as being stuck up. And I've certainly met other people who've come at me with this energy of just like, oh, so you started a film club, Rianne? I'm like, yes, I did. Man, would you like to be part of it?
Surprised with that? I heard KFC's opening here. So.
Yeah. So you're not the first person to have met me with that energy. And,
no, but what I was saying was like when I saw you, that was my first impression. But then I started following the club, and then I got in touch with you, and I started seeing how engaged you are, and that's true passion, man, and you got to keep that up, and I'll champion that every day. I'll champion.
Cheers, man. This is who I am. This is what I do. You
and
know?
everybody who is a part of the club now, that does not mean that I want. Hey man, I'm supporting you now. I need second of command. I don't want that. I don't want any command. I want to see things flourish and grow into things. And of course, we are humans and we have certain traits that we need to deal with and we need to go around it.
Yeah.
Right. And like you said, attention is currency now. So just do what you gotta do, bro. And whatever things, whatever keeps popping up is just. I consider it as okay. So this is the situation presented to me. How do I maneuver? It's a really tactical, it's like
this is being present again that you're talking about.
Being present, tactical, module. Like how do you? Okay, so this is the situation. Take 2 seconds before you react to just process and see what's going on. How do you maneuver this? What is the thing? Your mind's going to give you a bunch of fucking input, right? Because it's crazy. It's going to give you like so many things keep popping up, and you're like, okay, this is the solution. That's the solution. No, I veto that. No, that's not allowed. You can't do. There's a lot of people who are going to do that. So, I think in your in the club, I think what you're doing is amazing, and I see that there could be tension created, but that tension is always going to be there. But you're going to soar right above it, and I know that, and I see how much you involve yourself in the club, and how much you do, and how much you persevere, man. You're determined to explain and educate people, and that's something that's missing, and that's something that a lot of people, including big corporations here, could learn from.
Oh,
I'm serious.
I really appreciate
really
that.
The fact that we're sitting right here, man, I'm grateful for this moment that I'm sitting here. I've always dreamt of, I need to do a podcast. Yeah, I need to do this. I need film. I need this. I need that. I want to look like this.
Ideas in your head,
castles in the sky.
Yeah.
But
you're not alone there.
The reality is that I got to be here. This is exactly what's going on right now, and this is how I'm going to target it. This is how I'm going to attack it. What happens in the future, I have no control of, but I can steer a little bit.
You can know
Life
you've tried.
gives you opportunities. Life presents so many opportunities in a day. How you react and what you pick on, that's what takes things further.
Yeah.
Right. So, my final statement on that front. You are doing an amazing job, and you're a guy, and and all the stuff that we've talked about involving your life and everything to push through that boundaries, man, bro, that's some next level shit. That's what I would call top G. Like guys who can persevere, not guys who can show muscle and go around being a big guy, like I'll fucking knock you the fuck out.
Yeah, I can't do that.
No, but that's the thing. You own who you are, and if guys have to do that, so be it. Do that. But don't expect the entire world to follow that, and I don't think the examples created that we see in the world right now as, toxic masculinity. Like, if a woman is doing this, that means she's cheating on you. How the fuck do you know that? How do you know that? See,
huge
that's
leap,
the kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So since our topic is about vulnerability,
yes,
I just wanted to tell our viewers that there is no shame in talking about your problems, and also, not everybody who you say your problems to is going to listen to you the way you want them to hear you. It's impossible.
Very good point. Very good point.
You cannot get people to listen to you the way you expect them to hear you. I think the most important thing is to make peace within yourself, that you have the power to say what you want to say to people, and also expect a shut door right in front of you. That could be them making fun of you, but that does not have to stop you. You still got to persevere, get up, and put on that good fight. Not saying that you have to create a facade and hide yourself in the background. Don't do that. Put it out to people, and if you don't have anyone to talk to, I'll tell you what, call me. I'll listen to you. I'll shut up. If you want to talk, I might not be able to listen to 1,000 people at the same time, but I could pick the topics that you really want to discuss. I wish there was a hotline number just going on.
Find me on Facebook Messenger, and I'll tell you if I know of somebody. I'll tell you somebody who's had a similar or worse problem.
I just talk
nothing you've got is worse than what's going on out there.
Just feel free to speak, and nothing you do is wrong. Like, you have to trial and error is everything. I have a long list of failures in my life. If I had to live and look through all the failures I had, I'd not be sitting here, Leo. I'd be sitting here. I'd be depressed, alcoholic, or probably done with this system and pull the plug on it. Could be a lot of people that are feeling like that.
Yeah.
But there's no need for that, because your life is beautiful. Everybody here is beautiful. Everybody does everything for the sake of living this life.
Yeah.
So if you focus on the things you love and stay true to that and just continue, persevere, and don't listen to garbage. Don't listen to a woman telling you that she's better than you. Don't listen to a man saying that women are like this. No, fuck that noise, man. There's too much by people saying that you can see, you know, men and women start to act differently. And I told you I tried this exercise at home. So no, it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
Focus. I think you should disconnect and just listen to what you want to believe, and whatever you see on social media should only be something that could give you an awareness of what is actually out there, knowing your terrain before you get out and do stuff. But my man here, man, like you're doing something fucking amazing, dude, and I think you should continue. And
cheers, man.
Just do whatever you want, and I will support you regardless of what anybody has to fuck to say, because that's my perception. Unless you have you made $1 million and you didn't tell me that.
Oh fuck. Can we turn the cameras off? I got something to tell you.
I have something to tell you.
That's all right, man. I really appreciate it.
No.
Thank you for letting me be part of this. I think this is going to be awesome.
I think this was what it was, because it started off with another friend of mine, but you know, life happens and it's too fast.
Of course it does, yeah. Creativity is the first to go when life happens.
You know, I don't hold anything against him, or I don't hold anything against anybody. I'm done with that life.
Yeah.
Holding anger within you is just a how do I say it in the
let it go.
Sus.
Yeah.
So sus, man. Like, yeah. I don't know. But yeah, just be who you want to be and live life, man. Respect another person for their beliefs. Just like the club, you should just do what you want, and everybody has to just. Yeah. Now I just feel like I'm going there now. But no more rant and no more digressing. Vulnerability is there in everybody, right?
It's
how
strength.
You deal with it.
Vulnerability is strength,
and how you
man.
see. I think we should stop expecting things. Don't you think so? Don't you agree?
Do you know, you brought up gratitude for the everyday as being part of your self-worth, which I think is really interesting, because there's a quote I really like. It was this, I think it was like an 80-year-old ballet dancer. I read an article about her, and she was saying, like, of course, she can't do what she was doing in her 20s when she was a dancer, but she got out there and she practiced for many, many, many hours to maintain whatever she had left. Because she said that God gives you one gift, which is life. And the rest you've got to make for yourself.
Exactly. And you are God. Never forget that. You are God. Like,
I'm God, that's right.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, in every religion they all say God resides within you.
Right.
I don't think you have to call out to an external being. I think you are the God. You have the choice to learn. Every book, every religious book, forget all the nonsense and you know, one is better than the other bullshit, and no. But every sacred book that's been written is always a sense of finding purpose within yourself, and how you can be good to you. If you can be good to yourself, you will project that to the world, right? And that gratitude is the minute you wake up in the morning and you put your foot on the ground, and you're like, oh my God, I'm here. I still got many don't have that opportunity, and it's only very you know, when you're going through shit, that's when you realize, oh my God, I could just get along with people, and why did I do that? Don't die with regrets. I mean, like, your time is going to be up anytime, right? Don't die with regrets. Do good stuff for people, and I think maybe, you know, karma or whatever will find its way back towards you. So yeah, thank you for that. Do you know her name, the lady?
This ballet dancer lady. God, it was a long time ago. I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But on that note, do you think we should call it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good chatting.
Do you have any
final thoughts
to tell people?
Yeah.
Your thoughts about vulnerability and.
Yeah, sure. I think I would just say that what I repeated last time, which is, you know, we can stay at home and stew, and I'm guilty of it too, and I'll go, God, if only I had, you know, a book published with this publisher, if only I had an agent, if only I had a film in this festival, then my life would be better. I can't believe I'm not there yet. I'm very guilty of stewing and coming up with all of this stuff. But then, you know, the club is cathartic for me too, because I'll get out the house and I'll meet people and I'll go, hey, I made something with other people, and we didn't know we were capable of it. We came up with it in the moment, just like we came up with this conversation in the moment. And there's something healing in that, and just getting out the house and being with other people. If you want to know what women are like, what men are like. Get out and chat to some. I know that's going to give you biases because they're not like, I don't know. Just I found that many of my problems can be solved by getting at the house and chatting with people. As much as I am a very quiet, introverted guy who's quite nervous, I find it challenging, but it's worth the challenge of connecting with others.
Yeah, it's so worth it, like when you push that boundary. So my last words. Thank you for that, Leo. That's actually really strong. You're pushing, right? You're
it's uncomfortable.
Challenging
yourself.
Yeah. And I think that's very important for many people to hear. It's not about. It's never really about proving anything to anybody else, but to yourself. It's most important that you prove that you can do it, regardless of what anybody says. Anybody says, you just get up and do the things that you love to do, and make time for it, and don't find excuses. My dad always said it. I don't know if it's really a saying. Excuses are like assholes, and they stink. I'm sorry for the wrong, for the really, philosophical reference.
Yeah.
But get up and champion and do what you gotta do every day, and no excuses. And if you really want something, go after it, and be kind and be a good person.
Yep.
You know how to do that without, influences from anywhere. You are born with that. Everybody is born with that. So that's about it. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully we see you another time. Peace.